What does energy mean? People keep telling about energy.
Okay, so energy, essentially is your capacity, to do work. Like say, for example, when you don't eat anything, okay? So do you think you'll be able to go to school or say go and play?
No.
Why? What do you think is
You don't
happening?
have enough energy.
So that's what it is. So it is that particular quantity, okay, that enables you to do work of any sort. Even if you don't physically move, okay, your organs inside the body need energy to function. Now let me give you a very simple example of say, what needs energy. Okay? Like say, now you're talking to me, right?
Yes.
So when you're talking to me, what do you think is happening?
My mouth is using up energy to talk.
Indeed. So where does that energy come from? It comes from the food that you eat. So like this, anything that has to do work would need some sort of energy to be consumed. Again, the thing is, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So the universal energy content is constant. But however, you can transform energy from one form to another. Like say, the simple thing is, say, when you say that when you eat food, right? So your food, so whatever you eat, particularly the carbohydrates content, so once it gets digested, or say once it gets past your digestive system, your carbohydrates are converted to glucose finally. And finally, it is the glucose which undergoes further metabolic process to release energy. So it is that energy which enables life in you. When someone says that when one doesn't have any energy, it means that the person is not living anymore. So that is energy. So here, when I'm talking here, so I'm using my energy to convert my mechanical motion of my voice box, okay, which is called the larynx, into an auditory sound. So basically I'm transforming the mechanical vibration of my voice box, which is called larynx, into an audible energy or into sound energy. So my energy is only getting transformed. But then the thing is, I'm not creating energy here. I got this energy from the food that I ate. The food that I ate got energy from various plants and animal sources. So that's what it is.
I have a doubt.
Yes, please.
So, how will you have enough energy to do everything? How will food have enough energy for your whole body to work?
Okay, so now this is a biological process. So biology is a branch of science that deals with life. Okay, so what do you think you can eat? Can you eat stones?
No.
Can you eat a raw piece of wood?
No.
Then what do you eat? You eat food grains,
Who comes from plant?
vegetables, basically, yes, from plant and animal sources. So these are essentially biological sources of energy which you're consuming. They had energy when they were living as plants. Now the plants were storing their energy in the form of, either in the form of say their seeds or any other plant product. So when you eat them, you tap into those stored energies for your consumption. And again, you cannot eat stone or mud or say or a piece of wood like this, because these don't store energy. You can only eat energy, you can only get energy from biological sources which were actually living. So that can be your food grains, that can be your lentils. Lentils means the pulses basically. And obviously, you also have your animal products like dairy, meat and all that. So all of these are sources of energy.
But then how does machines use energy?
So now, machines are not biological. They also need energy, but they need different forms of energy. Like say, for example, if you're running a motor car, which is driven by, say, for example, which is driven by a combustion engine. You know what is combustion?
No.
Combustion is the process of burning something. Now, what do you think is happening in a petrol car? Now, petrol is a kind of oil because you get that from crude oil, okay? And the way the crude oil was formed was with long dead organisms which got buried deep into the earth. And under high pressure, they basically, they compressed into compounds of hydrogen and carbon and took various forms. So there are hydrocarbons in solid forms as well as in liquid form. So what you're using is essentially the liquid form, say, which is the crude oil. Now, upon refining crude oil, you get petrol. Now, this one has energy content in it because this is originally a biological content. Now, combustion is the process of burning this. So what happens is, when you're trying to start your engine, okay, you have something called the spark plug. When you have this combustible material, which is your oil, okay, and when you have the spark that's coming in along with enough oxygen in the cylinder where it's being burned, this releases energy. But then this energy is the thermal energy. Thermal energy is essentially energy in the form of heat. Now, you would have studied in your lower classes that heat causes objects to expand.
Yes.
So now the burnt gases inside will expand. So when that expands, the cylinder, well, I can show you that here. Now consider this one to be a cylinder, okay? Now let's have a connecting rod here. Just consider this to be a rough wheel, okay? Now, this is connected to one part of the wheel, okay? What happens is, you have a spark plug here, you have an inlet valve here, you have an outlet valve here. Now, your petrol or the fuel is sprayed through this valve inside. Now when this ignites, okay, by using the spark plug, this is going to expand. So what do you think is going to happen when this expands?
The wheel gets larger.
No, the wheel is not going to get larger. It is going to push this down. It's going to push the piston down. This is like a compressed syringe, okay? That's why the plunger is pushed down. So when this is pushed down, this wheel is going to rotate. This is how an engine works. Now when this is connected to the external wheels of your vehicle moves. So this is where the energy, which is originally stored in the biological form, which is essentially a chemical, that gets converted to heat energy here upon combustion, and then the heat energy is then transformed into a mechanical motion, which is essentially kinetic energy. Now, if you want to use this to ride a vehicle, yes, you're using up the kinetic energy for your motion. Now, instead, if you want this to do some other type of job, like say, like lifting something or rotating something, then the kinetic energy is further transformed into various other forms of energy. Like say, you could have a turbine connected to this engine and produce electricity from there. So what's happening here? You first have the stored chemical energy, which is then converted to heat energy upon combustion here. So the expansion of the gases cause kinetic energy or basically they get transformed into kinetic energy, which causes a mechanical motion here. And then when you have something connected to it, like say, like a turbine would convert that to electrical energy. So you can transform energy from one state to multiple other states.
That's how it works for engine-powered vehicles and machines. But what about like cycles and bicycles?
Okay, so in a bicycle, you have your biological source of energy, so which is the food that you eat. And as I mentioned, you have a chemical process called metabolism, in your body, which converts that to the mechanical motion of your hands. Because energy is released in your body, and you're using up that energy for you to do your work. Now, in case of cycle, it is the mechanical motion of your legs, so which is essentially the muscular energy, because that powers your muscles. That energy is going to be used by your muscles. Now, your muscles convert that energy to mechanical energy. So, when you pedal the cycle, or when you pedal your bicycle, it is your mechanical energy, or say it is your muscular energy, which is converted to mechanical motion. So, instead of being driven by a combustion chamber here, it is being driven by your muscular energy.
How does it work for electrical vehicles?
Okay. So it's a nice question. The thing is, why do you think it's called an electrical vehicle? Because it is the electricity that drives your car. So where does that electricity come from? In this case, it's your battery. Your battery has chemicals inside, which are then separated by electrodes, which essentially transform the stored chemical energy to electrical energy. Now, when you connect this to your engine, the energy flows, or say it is the flow of electric current through the engines. I wouldn't say that energy flows. Essentially, it is the flow of current through the electrical wires, which makes your electrical motor rotate. It's the same action there, but then instead of you having a thermally generated motion, you have an electrically generated motion. And that's what actually powers your car, particularly the electrical cars. It is the battery. Now, on the converse, some part of the battery driven motion can also be used to transform back into electricity, particularly to run some accessories, like dynamos, which could have a secondary source to charge something else. Or you could also use that, say, to run your air conditioner. So all of these are again, different transformations of energy. There is one transformation that you can experiment right here. So when you turn around, you have your keyboard there. So you can press any key. What do you think is happening here? You have electricity which is flowing through the circuits in your keyboard, and when you press, the electricity flows through a specific circuit inside, which transforms that into a specific frequency of sound. It's essentially the transformation of electrical energy into sound or acoustic energy. Now when you switch it off, when you press a button, why doesn't it work?
Because it's turned off and no electricity comes from the house.
It means that its energy source is dead. That's what it is. So in brief, you could try to understand that for something to work, it needs energy. So without energy, it is dead. And energy can be of different forms. Just like you have the electrical energy here, which is powering up your keyboard, and you have the chemical energy in a battery, which is transformed into electric energy in electric cars. And then here, similarly, your fuel is burnt here, which is the energy source. that is converted to heat energy first and then to mechanical motion. So if you look at the primary energy source for that, it is the fuel. It's the petrol or diesel which gets into your car. And for you, the energy source is the food that you eat. So well, that should be simple to understand.
This was a good learning experience. I understood how energy works and the transformation of energy. Thank you.
You're welcome.